here is a list of numbers. Work out the range of these numbers. So to work out the range, we just take the biggest number, which would be 8, and then we take the smallest number, which would be 2, and we subtract them from each other. So 8 minus 2 would give me 6. So therefore the range must be 6. Work out 120 minus 89. All right, so we're going to do the method for subtraction here. So we're going to put 120 minus 89. Start on the right hand side. So can I do 9 minus 0? I can't. So I'm going to have to borrow 1 from the 2. So the 2 becomes a 1 and then the 0 becomes a 10. Now 10 minus 9 actually gives me 1. And 1 minus 8, can I do that? No, I can't. So I need to borrow 1 from the other side. So this becomes 0 and then the 1 moves over and we end up having 11. 11 minus 8 leaves me with 3. So the answer must be 31. Okay, simplify 3 times a times 4. Okay, so can I multiply 3 and a? Not really, because I just get 3a, right? But the cool thing about multiplication is that you can do things in any order. Let me show you. For example, let's do 1 times 2 times 3. What does that give me? 1 times 2 gives me 2. 2 times 3 gives me 6, right? But what if I did 3 times 1 times 2? Completely different order. 3 times 1 is 3 times 2, still 6, you see? So you can multiply things any way around you want, right? So I'm actually going to multiply this 3 with the 4 first. So I will do 3 times 4, which gives me 12. And then 12 times a, which gives me 12a, right? So 12a, here we go. Work out 1 over 5 of 300. 1/5 of 300. So 1/5 is the same as 2 tenths, right? How do I know that? Because 1 over 5, if I just times both of these by 2, so just make, I'm maintaining the same proportion, it would give me 2 out of 10, right? And that just makes it easier for me to really understand what's going on here, right? So I'm looking for 2 tenths of this. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. I could figure out what 1/10 of 300 is, right? So 1/10 of 300 is obviously just 30, right? How do I know that? Because I just did 300 divided by 10. So 2 tenths must be 60, right? There's a lot of different ways to do this, but I'll just leave this method. There are 3 liters of oil in a can. Germain uses 700 liters of the oil. Work out the amount of oil left in the can. Okay, so here for this kind of question, you just need to know how many milliliters there are in 1 liter. And obviously there are 1000 milliliters in 1 liter, right? So I have 3 liters, I have 3000 milliliters. So therefore, if I take 700 out of that, I'm just left with 2300. All right, but if you actually if you can't do that in your head, then what would we do? We will do 300 minus 700, right? And then it's just 0. 0 minus 7, I can't do that. So I just need to borrow 1 from over here. So that becomes a 2. 1 moves over. 10 minus 7, that's 3. So 300. Here we go. And then the 2 moves down. So 300. Matt is drawing a scale diagram. 1 centimeter represents 5 meters. He draws a line 3 centimeters long. What real distance does this line represent? So we know that 1 centimeter represents 5 meters. So if he draws 3 centimeters, what would that represent? So 1 centimeter equals to 5 meters. So well, guess what 2 centimeters would be? You guessed it, it will be 10 meters, right? So 3 centimeters, you guessed it, it would be 15 meters, right? So the conversion is to just times by 5, right? Times by 5, times by 5. Right, the real distance between 2 points is 20 meters. What is the distance between 2 points on the scale diagram? To go the opposite direction, what do I have to do? I have to divide by 5, right? So I'll do 20 divided by 5, which gives me 4, right? Or you could just, figure out that the next one would be 4 centimeters. So that must be 20 centimeters, right? So yeah, must be 4 centimeters. Ms. Bailey asked 24 students where they each wanted to go on a school trip. Here are the results. Museum. Complete the frequency tree table. Long question. So with a tally, just do 4 dashes and 1 across, right? Castle dash, castle dash, castle dash, farm dash, farm dash, farm dash, castle, cross, farm, cross, castle dash, castle dash. 1 more. So we got 5 plus 5 plus 1, so that's 11. Here we got 5 plus 2, that's 7. And we just got 5. Now they told us there's 24 students in total, so we could add this up to make sure we didn't miss any. So 11 plus 7, that's 18. 18 plus 5, that's, I think we got it wrong. Looks like we missed one, right? 6 museums, sorry. So now it adds up to 24. So the mode is just the most popular one, the most common one. So obviously castle was the most popular because it had 11 frequency. So castle, thank you, goodbye. Draw a bar chart to show the results. So we had 11 castles, 7 farms, 6 museums, right? So we could go up and ones. Let's go up in ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. That will work. So this is my frequency. And then down here is just my place, right? So here we're gonna have castle, here we're gonna have farm and museum, right? So the castle is gonna go all the way up to 11. Oh, you should draw that with a ruler. Don't do what I'm doing here. The farm should go up to 7. So all the way up here to 7, and then the museum is going up to 6. So 6. With these questions, just make sure you space out these properly, make sure you label your axes properly, alright? And that's it. You can't go wrong with this. Easiest 3 marks ever. Selena has a bag of 22 counters. 5 of the counters are blue, 9 of the counters are red, 8 of the counters are pink. Selena takes a random counter from the bag. Write down the probability that Selena takes a red counter. So what's the probability? So there's 22 counters, right? So and only 9 of them are red. So it's going to be 9 out of 22. That's a chance of picking a red. She does not take a pink counter. So the probability she doesn't take a pink counter is going to be the total of the other 2 possibilities, right? So 5 plus 9. 5 plus 9, 9 plus 5, 14. So 14 out of 22. So that's the probability it's not a pink one, right? Because the probability of a pink one is going to be 8 out of 22. So not pink is going to be the opposite, which is this. Hope that makes sense. She takes a white counter. Well, it will be 0 because there are no white counters. There's only blue, red, and pink. Here are the ingredients needed to make 20 peanut butter cookies. Yummy. Make 20 cookies, 250 grams of peanut butter, 200 grams of sugar, 2 small eggs. Derek wants to make 60 cookies. He has 900 grams of peanut butter. Derek, I need to breathe. Does Derek have enough peanut butter to make 60 cookies? All right, let's see. So this is for 20 cookies. So if you want to make 60 cookies, you just, what do I need to times it by? I need to times it by 3, right? So I just do this times by 3. What's 250 times by 3? 200 times by 3 gives me 600. 50 times by 3 gives me 150. So in total, I get 750, right? So that's it. So I need 750 grams and he has 900. So yes, he has enough. All right. On the grid, draw an enlargement of the triangle with a scale factor of 3. Okay, so what does that mean? It has to be 3 times as big, right? So the easiest way to do this is to just count the base. So here we have 2. So if I do 2 times by 3, I get 6. So now I want the base to be 6, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. Now how high is it? It's 3 high, right? So if the scale factor is 3, I just do 3 times by 3. So that gives me 9. So we want it to go up by 9. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Pretty high up. And then we connect it up, right? Make sure you use a ruler for questions like this, obviously. And that's it. P equals 2G plus 4H. Work out the value of P when G equals 3 and H equals to 5. Okay, so we just substitute here. So let's replace G with 3. So we get 2 times by 3 plus 4 times by 5, right? So 2 times 3 gives me 6. 4 times 5 gives me 20. So I'm just going to do 6 plus 20. So P must be 26. Work out the value of G when P is 38 and H is 3. So let's make this 38. And this is going to equal to 2G plus 4 times by 3. All right. So let's do the 4 times by 3 first, because BIDMAS, we always start with multiplication. 4 times 3 gives me 12. So we get 2G plus 12 equals to 38. So now we just move the 12 to the other side. 8 minus 2, that leaves me with 6. 3 minus 1, that leaves me with 2. So 26 equals to 2G. So therefore 1G must be equal to half, right? I just got to divide this by 2 and this by 2 to cancel out these 2's and then just figure out what 1G is. So 26 divided by 2 is 13. Next one. 3R minus Q, work out the value of V when R is minus 3 and Q is 2. I just substitute. So V equals to 3 times by minus 3 and I'm taking away 2. Okay, so 3 times minus 3 gives me minus 3 and I'm taking away 2. Minus 3 minus 2 gives me minus 5. Alrighty. So this is a lot of information. So I usually, with questions like that, I think there's no point in reading the entire thing because you won't be able to process that much stuff anyway. So I think it's just best to just start breaking it apart straight away. So Chloe has a large number of hairbands. Each hairband costs 8p, right? So I know that hairband, one hairband equals 8p, right? Because this is just easier to understand than reading all of this. So that's what I do with long questions. She buys 100 grams of wool for £3. All right, so 100 grams of wool for £3. Okay, Chloe uses 1 hairband and 5 grams of wool to make each scrunchie. Okay, so 1 scrunchie equals to 1 hairband. I'm just gonna write hairband. Let's just do H. So 1H, 1 hairband, right? Plus 5 grams of wool. Work out the total cost of each scrunchie that she can make. Okay, so we know that 1 hairband is literally just 8p, right? So we could just substitute this 1 hairband with 8p straight away. Now we just need to figure out what these 5 grams are of wool. So we know 100 grams of wool is 3 pounds, right? So I could figure out what 10 is by just dividing by 10. So 10 grams must be 30p, right? Because if I divide this by 10 and divide this by 10, get 30p. Because remember, 3 pounds is the same as 300p, right? And then I actually want to know what 5 grams are. So I'm going to half it. Because to go from 10 grams to 5 grams, I just divide by 2. So I'll divide by this by 2 as well. And that gives me 15p, right? So I know 5 grams is 15p. So I'm just going to do 8p plus 15p. Now what is that? 8p plus 15p gives me 23p. Here we go. Work out the total cost of each scrunchie. So that's it. On the grid, draw the graph of y equals 4x minus 1 for the values from x from -2 to -1. So whenever you have to draw a line like that on a grid, and they tell you what values for x, blah, blah, this is the equation of a straight line, right? You should be able to notice it straight away because it's y equals mx plus c. So what we do for this is we always draw a table. Okay, so just memorize that. Whenever I see a question like that, I draw a table. So I draw a table for x and y, all right? Remember, these are just coordinates on the graph, right? So they said for the values of x is -2 to 2, so I'll just put values for x, so -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. So I went from -2 to 2, like they asked me to. And now I'm just going to substitute x's with these values. So I'm going to do 4 times by -2 minus 1, right? So 4 times by -2 gives me -8, -1 is -9. Now, -1 times by 4 gives me -4, -4 minus 1 gives me -5. Now, 4 times by 0 is 0, -1 is -1. Now, 4 times by 1 is 4, 4 minus 1 is 3. And then 2 times by 4 is 8, 8 minus 1 is 7, all right? So what do we have here? So we have -2, -9. -1, -5, 0, -1, 1, 3, 2, 7. There we go. And then we just connect it with a straight line. And that's your line. Y equals 4x minus 1 would look like that on a graph. Wow, crazy. Steve is buying a car. The car costs 12,000. Steve pays 25% of the car as a deposit. He pays the rest of the car in 20 equal monthly payments. How much is each monthly payment? So he pays a 25% deposit, right? So he's going to pay off 25% of the car straight away. So let's figure out what that is. So I know 25% is a quarter, right? So it's a 1/4. So I'm just going to do 12 divided by 4, which is 3, right? So I know that a quarter of 12,000 would be 3,000. Right? He's already paid off 3,000. So what's left? So I'm going to do 12,000 minus 3,000. So what's left is 9,000, right? So he pays the rest in 20 monthly payments. So I'm just going to do 9,000 divided by 20. Really fast to cancel out 1 0 and 1 0. Because remember, you can do that whenever you're dividing. If you have zeros at the end, you can just cancel them out. So really all I'm doing here is 9,000 divided by 2. So I'm just halving 900, sorry. So 900 divided by 2 would give me 800. Whoa, 450. Right? So that's how much he's going to pay monthly. Sachach takes an exam. The exam is out of 16 marks. Sachach needs to score at least 70% of the marks to pass the exam. He scores 45 marks. Show that Sachach passes the exam. Okay, so he needs to score 70% of 16 marks, right? So 60 marks equals to my 100%. Because if he scored 60 out of 60, he would get 100%, right? So now if he only scored 6 marks, I know that would be 10%. How do I know that? Because how do I go from 100% to 10%? I have to divide by 10. So same thing with the marks. I have to divide by 10, right? And if I do 6 times by 10, I get 60. And if I do 10 times by 10, I get 100. So 6 must be 10%. It's just proportions, you see? So now I want to figure out what 70% is though. So how do I go from 10% to 70%? I times by 7. So I'll times by 7 here. 6 times by 7 gives me, 7 times by 7 is 49. 49 minus 7 is 42. I haven't done my 7 times table in a while. So yeah, it's 42. Did he pass? He scored 45, so yes, he passed. Yes, he has more than 42, right? Work out 3 over 5 divided by 1 over 6. Give your answer as a mixed number. All right, so whenever we divide fractions like that, we just flip the other one, right? So we just do 3 over 5 times by 6 over 1. We flip it. And then we just multiply across. So 3 times by 6 gives me 18. 5 times by 1 gives me 5. So I have 18 divided by 5. How many 5s can I fit in 18? Obviously 3. That gives me 15 with a remainder of 3. So it's going to be 3 over 5. Bada bing, bada boom. Work out 6.3 times by 2.4. Okay, so whenever we're multiplying decimals like that, the best way to do it is to just pretend that it's 63 times by 24. Just pretend that there are no decimals, right? But then ask yourself, okay, so what did I need to multiply this by for it to become a number like that? And what did I need to multiply that one for it to become a number like that? So I had to multiply this one by 10 and this one by 10, right? So let's keep that in mind. So now we're just going to use the multiplication method, which just becomes a 2, and then we put the 1 over here, and then we do 4 times by 6, which is 24. So the 2 goes here, and then the 4 goes here, and then we have the 1 above it. So I could just change it into a 5 straight away, or just remember that the 1 is there, right? And then that's done. And now I just do the 2 times by 3 and times by 6. But to do this one, I actually need to create this space over here, right? Because it's actually 20, it's not 4. So I do 2 times by 3, which is just 6. And then I do 2 times by 6, which is 12. All right. And I just go down. So that's a 2. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 6 is 11. 2 plus 1 is 5 and 1. So it's 1, 5, 1, 2. Now, the problem is, though, that these are actually decimals, right? And remember, we times by 10 and times this by 10. So we actually need to divide this by 10 and divide this by 10 again, right? So we're just moving the decimal place by 2 places. So the answer would be 15.12. All right? Because remember, I just moved the decimal place by 2 places because I divided by 10 once and then once again. All right? That easy. Alrighty, what do we have here? Write down the value of 5 to the power of 0. Right, so 5 to the power of 0 is just 1, because anything to the power of 0 is just 1. Now write down the value of 5 to the power of minus 2 would be 1 over 5 squared. Right, because whenever we have a negative power, we just do 1 over. And then 5 squared is just 25, so it will be 1 over 25. Right, 2 to the power 5 times by 2 to the power 4. So whenever we multiply the same coefficient with powers like that, we just add the powers together. So 5 plus 4 is 9, so it's just 2 to the power of 9 divided by 2 to the power of 3. And whenever I divide the same coefficient, I just take the powers away. So 9 minus 3 leaves me with 6, so it's just 2 to the power of 6. Right, 156 as a product of its prime factors. So to find prime factors, we just write 154 and we just start splitting it, okay? So into its factors, preferably prime factors straight away. So 2 is a prime factor, because remember, prime factor is something that can only be multiplied by 1 and itself. So 156 divided by 2, I love halving them. It's the quickest way, just keep on halving. Is 78, tricky one. So 278 divided by 2 leaves me with 39. And then 39, I can't halve that anymore. I'm pretty sure it's 13, and now 13 is another prime factor. There's nothing that I can divide 13 by. So 2, 2, 3, 13 are my prime numbers. Now are prime factors, and the way you could write this is 2 to the power of 2 times by 3 times by 13. The reason why I did 2 to the power of 2 is because I actually have 2 of 2's, right? Find the highest common factor of 156 and 130. So to find highest common factors, the way I do it, I also do a prime tree, right? So we actually know the prime factors of 156. There were these ones, so we don't need to do it. And let's find 130 quickly. So it's going to be 2 times by 65, and then 65. Let's just do 5 times by 13, and that's it. 2, 5, and 13 are the prime factors of 130, right? So now what we do is we actually draw a Venn diagram. All right, so one of these circles is for 130, the other circle is for 156. So this one is going to be for these ones, and then we put the common ones in the middle. So both of them had a 2, So I'm going to put 1, 2 here. And then the 156 had another 2. And then the 130 had a 5. But it's not in common because the other one didn't have a 5. This one had a 3, but it's not in common. And they both had a 13, right? So now to find the highest common factor, I just multiply the numbers in the middle in the Venn diagram. So I do 2 times by 13, which gives me 26. So 26 is the highest common factor. And if you wanted to find the lowest common multiple, you would just multiply all of these together, all right? Literally all of them. So you do 2 times 3 times 2 times 13 times 5. Alrighty, let's keep on going. The mean length of 5 sticks is 4.2 centimeters. Naval measures the length of one stick as 7 centimeters. Work out the mean length of the other 4 sticks. Okay, so how do we work out mean? So we always do the sum of lengths in this example, because it's lengths, divided by the amount of sticks, right? Amount of sticks equals mean, right? So now we know that what do we know? So we know that this is 4.2, and we know that the sum of length is going to be 4 sticks plus 7 centimeters, right? Because that's what one of the sticks is. And then we know that that was 5. So let's see if we can figure out what the sum of these 4 sticks is by rearranging this slightly. So I could do 4.2 times by 5, f5 times by 5 gives me 1, so it's going to be 21. So the 4 sticks plus the 7 centimeter one is going to equal to 21 centimeters, right? So now just to take away the 7 centimeters on both sides, and that leaves me with 14. So the 4 sticks must be 14 centimeters. Work out the mean length of the other 4 sticks. But that's the total, that's not the mean, right? So I'm going to have to do 14 divided by 4 in order to actually find the mean. And how do we do that? Let's just do the bus stop method. So let's just do 14, 4. So how many 4s can I fit in 14? I can fit 1, 2, 3. I can definitely fit 3 with a remainder of 2. So let's put a 0 and let's put a 2. Now how many 4s can I fit in 20? I can fit 5. So 3.5 centimeters is the mean length of a stick. Sorry guys, I'm starting to get really tired here. Newell made a mistake. The stick was not 7 centimeters long, it was 17 centimeters long. How does this affect your answer to part A? Well, that means that the mean is even smaller. Mean of other 4 is even smaller. The diagram shows an isosceles triangle ABD and a straight line ABC. Cool. So now, what did they give us here? Clearly this is an isosceles triangle, right? They even told us, so therefore this must also be x. And they gave us these proportions that x to y is 2 to 1. And basically what that means is that x could be our 2/3, right? Because there's 2 and 1 part. So in total there's 3 parts, right? So it's 2 out of 3 and 1 out of 3, because 2 plus 1 is 3. That's why it's over 3, right? So what does that tell me? That tells me that I would need, that y is half the size of x. So I would need 2 y's to make 1 x, right? Because remember, this is y, this is x, right? So I would need 2 y's to make 1 x, right? So therefore I can replace the x's with 2 y's. 2y, 2y. Therefore 180 divided by 5. Why 180? Because it's a triangle and triangles add up to 180, right? And why 5? I jumped ahead. Let me just go back. So now, how many y's do I have? I have 1, 2, 2. So I have 5 y's, right? And I know that all of these are in a triangle, so they add up to 180 degrees. So to find out what 1 y is, I just do 180 divided by 5, which is 36. You could use a bus stop method for this. And yeah, I can easily figure out what w is by doing 180 minus 36. Why 180? Because it's on a straight line. And straight lines have 180 degrees, right? So if I just take away this, I'll be left with w. So I'm doing 180 minus 36. And what does that give me? 0 minus 6, we can't do that. So, well, it's not 0 then. We can't do that, I have to borrow it from the other side. So that becomes a 7, that becomes a 1, 10 minus 6, that's 4, 7 minus 3, that's 4. And then that's 1, so 1, 4, sorry. And that's the answer, that's what w is. Manu has 3 shelves of books. There are X books on shelf A, there are 3X plus 1 books on shelf B, there are 2X minus 5 books on shelf C, there is a total of 44 books on the 3 shelves. All the books have the same mass. The books of shelf B have a total mass of 7,500 grams. Work out the total mass of books on shelf A. So X tells me the number of books on shelf A. So I know that X plus 3x plus 1 plus 2x minus 5 equals to 44, right? Because these are equations that tell me how many books there are, and this tells me that that's how many books there are in all 3 shelves. So if I add up all these equations together, I know that it should equal to 44. And I'm pretty sure that's what we're doing here. So let's clean this up. Let's just add it all up. So we have 1x plus 3x plus 2x. So that gives me 6x plus 1 minus 5. So that actually becomes minus 4. So we have 6x minus 4 equals to 44, right? So I'm just going to add 4 to both sides. So that leaves me with 6x equals to 48. Now, what's 48? Now we can divide both sides by 6. So x must equal to 8. So there's 8 bookshelves on shelf A. And now they told me that books on shelf B have a total mass of 7,500. So I need to figure out how many books exactly there are on shelf B. So I know that x is 8, so 3x plus 1. So I'm just doing 3 times by 8. I'm replacing x with 8 plus 1, right? So 3 times by 8 leaves me with 24, plus 1, that leaves me with 25. So I know there's 25 books on shelf B, and the mass is 7,500 grams. So now I'm just going to divide this by 25 and this by 25 to figure out what one book is. Right? So one book must be, you see, we can be really smart with this calculation because we know that 25 is 1/4 and we know that 75 is 3/4. So it's actually 25 times by 3 gives me 75, right? And then I just add 2 more zeros. So it's 300. So to make it 7,500. So one book must be 300 grams, all right? And then we know we have 8 books on shelf A. So we're going to do 300 times by 8 to figure out the total mass of books on shelf A. So 3 times by 8 is 4, because 3 times by 8 is 24, and then add the 2 zeros, so it must be 2,400 grams. Bingo! A piece of glass has a mass of 27 grams and a volume of 10 centimeters cubed. Work out the density of the piece of glass. So density equals mass divided by volume. All right, you should know this formula. So now, what's my mass? My mass is 27 grams and my volume is 10 centimeters. So therefore the density must be 2.7 grams per centimeter cubed. So whenever we estimate, we just kind of pick reasonable numbers, all right? So 5.7 would become 6, 8.2 would become 8, and 0.26 we can leave as 0.2. But it has 2 decimal places, so maybe because it has 2 decimal places, I think I would leave it as 0.25 actually, just to be a bit more accurate. So 6 times by 8 leaves me with 20, 6 times by 8 gives me 48, and this is divided by 0.25, right? So we're basically gonna times it by 4 because it's a quarter. 0.25 is a quarter, right? And how many quarters fit in one whole number? 4, right? So basically I'm timesing by 4. So it's gonna be 48 times by 4. So 4 times by 4 gives me 16. So I know it's gonna be 160. So 160 plus 32 leaves me with 192. Here we go. All right, and these are the last 2 questions. So expand and simplify. So whenever we expand, we just pick the first term and we multiply it by the first term in the other bracket, and then we multiply it by the second term in the second bracket. So 3x times 2x, what does that give me? 3 times 2 is 6, and then we have 2 x's, so that becomes x squared. Then 3x times by minus 5, so that becomes minus 15x. Then that's done. Then I got the 2, and then I have to do the 2 times by the 2x, and then the 2 times by the minus 5. So 2 times by 2x gives me positive 4x, and then 2 times by minus 5 just leaves me with a negative 10. Now we can clean this up by putting these two together, and that would leave me with minus 11x. So it's 6x squared minus 11x minus 10. So to factorize something, you always look at what these numbers have in common. And in this case, the thing that they have in common is that both of these are square numbers. Because you should know that 16 is 4 times 4, right? That gives you 16. And x times x gives you x squared. So basically, once you notice that both of these are square numbers, all you have to do is do x plus 4 times by x minus 4. All right? And it's important that one of them is positive and the other one is negative, because we want the 4x and the negative 4x to cancel out, because positive 4x minus 4x gives us 0, right? That's why it's so important that one is positive, one is negative for this to actually work, okay? And that's the end of the paper. 100%. Good job. All right, that's it from me. Time to get some sleep. I'm really tired. Bye.